In this particular instance, in the Christian sector, there are behaviors that are unbecoming, inappropriate, that happens within churches in this country.
That's illegal. You're not allowed to regulate one part of the religious spectrum. Prophet Bushiri, they had him in jail. The judge let him out. The presidency helped him get out the country. Where's the church responsible for that?
There's already law in place to deal with these things. Fraud is fraud, and there's law that speaks against fraud.
I don't accept that this stuff is being done in the interests of Christians.
This is the Political Show.
Hey, and welcome to the Political Show right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you know you can call me Gix. And with me in studio we have
Gavin Ensslin.
Pastor Gavin Ensslin and
The Black Knight.
The Black Knight, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
Hot politics. And this week's Hot Politics, we are looking at two situations in two completely different countries that who would have thought have something to do with one another. We are looking at the Madlanga Commission here in South Africa, the happenings of that, and what do they have to do with the Epstein files? Remember, I said two different situations. Are they really different situations? Two completely different countries, but let's see if we can bring them into one topic. Pastor Gav, do you want to give a more brief explanation?
Yeah, obviously in the recent times, first of all in South Africa, General Madlanga Konazi came out with some explosive allegations against very senior members of the South African Police Services, SAPS, and also the Minister of Police, amongst others, and basically gave accusations that indicate that South Africa has been run by organised crime, that organised crime has infiltrated crime intelligence and South African Police Services, and that basically gangsters are running the state. And then over and above that, we saw this year the release of the Epstein files and all sorts of horrendous things coming out. Some things that are too horrendous to even mention. And in fact, myself and Giggs, we were talking about it earlier today. And the reality was that, when looking at everything that's going on there, they're focusing on victims who were teenagers or even adult women, saying they were being trafficked. But in many instances, these victims they're talking about seem to have maybe gone into the whole undertaking willingly. I don't know. I'm not saying they were willing, but while the media is focusing on that, on the other side, we're hearing accounts of people eating babies, and the mainstream media doesn't seem to be talking about that. And on top of that, you hear about some of the things that are going on with whistleblowers being shot dead here in South Africa. And also, we've got a horrendous problem with human trafficking. And I promise you now, Jeffrey Epstein's not involved. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein's involved with people that are being abducted and then are being forced to work on illegal mines as zamas, here in and around Johannesburg. So we're going to be talking about this because when you look at the Epstein file revelations and you also look at what's going on at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which was launched to investigate the claims of General Konazi, as well as the ad hoc committee in South Africa's Parliament, and you look at both of these situations, I think we see the same powers behind both. But anyway, we're going to get into that today.
Yes, it's going to be an amazing topic, as always, an amazing show, because this is the Political Show where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
Hot politics. So we are looking at the whole thing with the Epstein files. We're looking at the Madlanga Commission and everything else in between. And we basically watched this video by, it's Mario Murillo. I think it's Mario
Murillo, yes.
Yes, and he was interviewing... what's this? Todd Coconato. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong.
Okay, you sound like you're saying he's a coconut. I didn't want to say anything, but yes, they actually he wasn't interviewing. They actually present the show together.
Okay.
And the show the show is from Mario Murillo Ministries, but it's called Firepower. and both of them, they they talk about church politics, not church politics. Please, that wasn't church politics. They talk about politics and the impact that politics has on the church and on society. And obviously you've got many Christians that are talking about the fact that, or they're claiming that Christians must stay out of politics. And Mario Murillo definitely does not have that view. And they're talking about the whole Epstein revelations and about the fact that in America, with these Epstein revelations, things are becoming very clear. And what's becoming very clear is good versus evil. And we're having a similar situation in South Africa with what's coming out with the Madlanga Commission and also the ad hoc committee in Parliament, where so many of these people who are the supposed creme de la creme, the cream of South African society, are being shown up as being as corrupt and wicked as can be. What's even been touched on in the Madlanga Commission is the whole Zama Zama thing, and the fact that there are very, very powerful people, including from mining companies and the government and the police and all sorts of top people that are actually involved to conspire to make it possible for illegal gold mining to be happening here in South Africa. So, the fact of the matter is, very senior people have been implicated both with the Epstein files, and they've been implicated with regards, things like eating babies with the Epstein files, and then also what's going on with the human trafficking effort in South Africa by organized crime. We knew it's true, but now it's coming out, and yet so many top people have been implicated in both affairs. And when you wait for the arrests, all you're hearing is crickets. Nothing's happening. In the middle of the night, nothing happens.
Yeah, so that is basically, in a nutshell, what they speak about. But if we go into some of the topics that they cover, they look at the fact that darkness is being exposed, like Pastor Gavin said. They're open about saying God is allowing hidden evil to come into the open. And I mean, we can back that up with biblical verses that speak about the fact that nothing that is in the dark stays in the dark. They frame the current moment as one of clarity, where people with discernment can finally see what is happening. And when you look at all of these things, I mean, obviously they're speaking about the wokeness mentality and all of these activism stuff that is happening in America. But if we had to look at it in South Africa as well, the issue is not a political issue, but a supernatural issue. And Murillo repeatedly says that the core issue is demonic, it's spiritual rather than political, and he still condemns corrupt politics, but insists that the root is a spiritual warfare and end-time deception. And then another thing that they touch on is a small elite controls the world. They claim that a small group of elites control money, they control media, culture, narratives. They say that this group funds movements to manipulate society and prepare for the Antichrist. And I mean, in some of these protests, we've actually seen that the people get paid. Was it one of the ICE protests I was watching? They were covering one of the ICE protests. And they were asking the person why they were protesting, and don't they have a job? And the person literally said that this was their job. And for someone to call it their job means that they were getting paid, but for doing what they were doing. So there are people out there paying these protesters and stuff to manipulate society and all of these things. There's also the whole transgenderism thing that is becoming more and more in our faces as well. And they describe it as spiritual corruption. They strongly condemn gender transition, especially for children, calling it mutilation and evil. They link it to satanic symbolism, like Baphomet and claims society has desensitized. Then they also go into the Epstein files and redirection. And Todd references Epstein file releases, says major names like Bill Gates, and all those people are implicated, which is nothing new. If you have to go and follow any coverage of the Epstein files, the major names that come out there, you're even shocked. I mean, last week in our show, I was shocked that our own president is in these, what's this latest? Former president. Sorry, if you're watching this as a South African, don't come after me. Our former president, Jacob Zuma, is in the files as well. We obviously don't know what the meeting was about and whatever, but for the fact that he was having a meeting and all of these things, they claim mainstream media redirects attention, especially towards Trump. I mean, there are all of these names that are coming out, but if you look at social media always jumps back to Trump knew Epstein and all of these things and stuff. So it's to protect the elites and to control the narratives. They then go on to speak about feminism.
Could I just interject there? And I mean, the thing with Trump, if you look at that, then earlier this week, one of the things that comes out is that a former police chief from Palm County or somewhere in Florida, in the US, comes out and says that they were finding a whole lot of celebrity people, to ask them about Jeffrey Epstein, and the only person that phoned them back was Donald Trump. And Donald Trump told them, no, this guy is evil. He's doing things to kids. You need to sort this out. You need to go and investigate. So, what the mainstream media are talking about in terms of this sort of pack of lies. And I just wanted to mention this due to the fact that even here in South Africa, when you listen to the commentaries about the evidence that's been given, oh my goodness, you've got to listen to evidence for yourself, because otherwise all you're hearing is someone's spin on it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And then they speak about, this is one thing that I also am completely against, is feminism. And that feminism is presented as a tool to weaken men and to weaken families. They argue that feminism was not primarily about equality, but about attacking masculinity and destabilizing the family. They show, in this specific YouTube episode that we watched, they show clips suggesting women are more easily weaponized by propaganda through compassion and care, and that feminism created a pathway, a bridge into transgender ideology, which I also agree with that whole thing. And then they go into the conformity through workspaces and institutions. Todd describes corporate pressure through diversity and transgender training. He says this creates social rewards and pressures Christians to bow to ideology. And then I'm just going to go through 10 things. I'm on number 8. They speak about civil rights activism shifting away from family structure. In this episode, they show a clip from a black preacher arguing that after the 1960s, activism shifted away from strengthening family structures. The preacher claims fatherlessness increased dramatically and that liberal politics exploited the black community. And that the ninth thing is Europe as a warning example. And I think that is a very big thing, especially if you look at what's happening in the UK with the Muslims and stuff, and now looking at New York and what's happening in New York with the Muslims as well. They include a segment arguing Europe is collapsing through welfare dependence, net zero policies, energy dependence, especially on Russia, and open borders. They say America is being pushed down the same path. And then the last one is Universe 25. I've also heard of this. Universe 25 is a mouse experiment as a metaphor. They use the mouse utopia experiment to argue that comfort, safety, and lack of struggle can lead to social breakdown. Antisocial behavior, which we're starting to see. I mean, remember, Pastor, we had a conversation where we were speaking about how this generation can't read the room. Because they're always on their phones. I just
wanted to mention, we're talking about Mao Zedong, the Chinese president that brought about the communist revolution in China in 1949.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are talking about that now, eh?
Yes. And and antisocial behavior, sexual confusion, collapse of reproduction, and that human society is showing similar signs. There's a declining in birth rate, mental health crisis, and identity confusion. So looking at all of this that they're speaking about, looking at what's happening in South Africa in terms of the Madlanga Commission, the Zama-Zamas, and all of these other things that society is complaining about, but nothing is being done about it. What are your thoughts, Pastor?
Well, just first of all, in the United States, I also saw a clip on the BBC where Chuck Schumer, the minority leader of the Senate from the Democrat Party, was standing with a whole lot of so-called Epstein victims, and they were introducing the Victoria Act, that one Victoria woman that was the victim. Now, I mean, you name the act after the victim, and then if the Republicans vote no, can you imagine their campaign, at the midterm elections later in 2026? So the thing is, Obama was involved with Epstein. Biden was involved with Epstein. George H.W. Bush was involved with Epstein. Bill Clinton was involved with Epstein. Members of the CIA, you name it. And here's the other thing. These files are not so new because a lot of this information came out because of Julian Assange in 2016 with WikiLeaks. In fact, when this stuff came out, Julian Assange was destroyed. All right, they really went after him, and they were claiming that he was releasing state secrets and with Edward Snowden and all sorts of stuff like that. But they really went after him after this, and so they do everything to cover it up. And one of the things that Mario Moreira talks about, he talks about like the caste system, that you've got like in India, where you've got different groupings and levels of society, and that what the elites do is that they control the masses through like a caste system. And I mean, right now the whole narrative that's going on around the Epstein files is actually just a distraction from in terms of what's really going on, because what they also don't talk about is Epstein's many financial crimes. And obviously now they want to blame everything on Trump. Now, whether Trump was involved or not, I don't know. But there is an ex-police chief, a retired police chief, that is claiming that Trump, basically outed Epstein. He was the first one to do so, even before Epstein was convicted the first time, I think in 2008. I think that Trump spoke to him in 2006 as part of the investigation that led to Epstein being, prosecuted and found guilty in 2008. Now, in South Africa, the same, the same goes where people are also, just being controlled. And in South Africa, Black Knight, you've fallen for this many times, the black-white narrative. The white, I mean, even this week we had Paul O'Sullivan. Now, he's a white guy, born of Irish parents in England, who's got 3 passports. And first of all, Julius Malema and his crowd, they're complaining, what qualifications, what university qualifications did you have to do this job and that job and, all of those sorts of things. And I'm thinking about Xavier's universities. They're producing a whole lot of graduates that are unemployable. They're actually providing no service to the South African economy, and an inordinate amount of tax money is being spent on them. I mean, really, there's like such a huge amount of tax money that's being spent on them. And then at the same time, looking at all of this stuff, why has no one been arrested? I mean, even Julius Malema, he got found guilty of shooting an AK-47 on a stage at a public rally in a stadium. I promise you now, Black Knight, you go shoot a firearm, even just a handgun, never mind an AK-47. You go stand in a public area and start shooting in the air, pa, pa, pa. And they've got it on video. You finished, my boy. You finished. You'd have been sitting in what we call Sun City.
I wouldn't be here recording.
No, you wouldn't be. We'd have to have a Zoom meeting with you in the cell. You understand what I'm saying? So ordinary people are not getting away with this, yet these people are committing the most heinous of crimes, and yet there's no charges.
Yeah.
Now, who's controlling these world elites that are sitting often behind the scenes? It's demonic.
Yeah.
I mean, people that are eating babies are demonic. They have to be demonic. And even if you look at, I mean, someone who goes and abducts people and takes them underground to go and do illegal mining until they die. You've got to be demonic to do that. How can you do that to someone? So the thing is, at the end of the day, this is a spiritual battle, and the church needs to wake up to this, because the church is the only solution to this. And these guys that are in power are not going to do anything about this, because most of them are tainted, and that's the reality. How do you arrest someone else when you know you yourself are tainted, and then you're scared that they're gonna, rat on you?
Yeah, Black Knight, what are your thoughts?
I think I was also thinking about this. It's funny that I didn't even get to converse with the two of you guys. But one thing I thought of actually when I was watching this whole Epstein thing and the Madlanga thing is that why is it at the same time? Why are all of these things coming out like at the same time? That was the interesting part for me, and how it's interlinked, you know. And I think that's where I would take my thoughts from, to say that, to see that it's a spiritual matter, and that Satan is I wouldn't even right now I wouldn't even say kinda. Satan is pulling all the strings from all sections or all sides of the world, and what you see is that, like, these people are working together. It might not be physical, but in a spiritual matter, when we look at it in a spiritual eye, like the podcast we were watching where they're speaking about the whole thing, that it's a spiritual matter, and we, the ones with discernment, can now see. And I believe that they were alluding to the whole factor of, if you read your Bible, you will get to see these things, because I know for sure, definitely my pastor used to say that. In fact, we have a lot of shows where he says that when you read the Bible, it'll be easy for you to read the signs. So I think that's where I actually see the whole spiritual link with the people in the physical, and Satan's work using the people themselves. Because yeah, why are these things happening like at the same time? We went through 2020, it was a global thing, you know. Now we're going through this Epstein, and then we're going through Madlanga, but it's whole intellect with the Epstein, the Madlanga, and then now the UK. I believe like we're still gonna find out. In fact, the 300 files that they're gonna release, we don't know when. We'll still find out a lot about other countries being involved with Epstein, and looks like Epstein was this big financial advisor for all of these guys to like run countries and stuff like that. So for me, yeah, it's all one thing.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, first of all, Epstein wasn't the only one, because Epstein, well, they say he's dead. We don't know for sure, but
Yeah, we spoke about that.
Let's just go with the
narrative.
no. Let's just go with the standard knowledge that he's dead. Okay, that he hung himself with a paper sheet, holding his legs up in a cell, flinging himself off in order to be able to kill himself. Let's just go with that story, all right? Let's just assume it's true.
Yeah.
But the crimes are still going on.
Yeah.
So Epstein was. They talk like he was a kingpin. And if there's the word Epstein, if there's a photo of you with Epstein, then at the end of the day, you must run scared. It's like white people used to have to run scared in South Africa if they called a racist. I don't care if you call me a racist. I'm still going to say what I say. You understand? And even Julius Malema there with Paul O'Sullivan. What does he say every time Paul O'Sullivan says something he doesn't like? He says, you white supremacist, you. And but now what we're seeing is, so the American government is being run by organized crime. The Saudi government's being run by organized crime. And now the thing with the Pakistani rape gangs in the United Kingdom. Also with how the United Kingdom voted for Brexit. And it has not been done. The politicians have done everything not to do it. And the UK is also run by organized crime. That's what's coming out. So when you start looking at that, you're asking, why is it all coming out now? Well, maybe God's exposing it so that people can see it, so that you can stop being deceived, and so that you can start reading the Bible, and so you can start believing the Bible, because the Bible is true. And the Bible says that the human heart is wicked beyond description, and that out of it flow the issues of life. So you've got to guard your own heart. And we're actually seeing this now with all of these circumstances that are going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's the whole thing of, if you look, I mean, I don't stay in the States, but then when you look at all, I mean, the ICE protests for me have just been like, how blind can you be to be protesting something like the ICE protests. Like, if you look at it from someone from the outside looking into what's happening in the States, you're just like, do you guys not see what you're doing? This is not normal human behavior. This is not, if you're a person, because they say they're protecting their families and whatever and stuff like that, when you see what they're fighting, or even if you see what social media, so a lot of people, there's that one picture of the little boy. He's a child of an immigrant that they use as their poster to say that the ICE agents are cruel and whatever. How can they detain a little boy? And I remember the first time seeing that, I was also like, a little boy. Okay, maybe they did take it overboard. But then you go and you read the full story and you realize that, guys, that is not even what happened. And that control of the propaganda, that control of the media and all of these things, and how the media, social media and all of these things have basically desensitized us to believing that certain things are okay that are not okay. So
and what they did with the Grammys also. You see that it's a whole thing that they're playing.
Yeah. So that whole thing is something that we need to wake up to say that we are in a spiritual battle here. In Galatians 5 verse 1, it says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery."
The kingdom of this world is a kingdom that operates in slavery. I mean, even if you look at the world's economic system, the world's economic system is a debt-based system. And debt is slavery. The Bible actually says that the borrower will be servant to the lender. And so looking at that, even in terms of that verse that Giggs has just read there, I really want you to understand that you need to get to the place whereby you understand that Jesus is Lord, number one, and that number two, trusting in anyone else is not going to get you anywhere. Even if you operate, in the human sense under a perfect leader, the reality is one bullet that can take that perfect leader away from you. One car accident, one heart attack, one stroke, because everyone's going to die. And so you need to trust in the Lord. The other thing is, if the foundation of what you believe to be the truth is not Jesus Christ, I can promise you now you are deceived. That's just the reality. You are deceived. And so I'd really encourage you to change the way you're looking at everything, to change the entire perspective on how you see the world, and to put Jesus first. The other thing is, whether you're in the United States, the United Kingdom, or the Republic of South Africa, let me tell you this one thing. The only hope for any nation is the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ. The nation will not be free without that. And I want to remind you one final thought that comes out of the Bible is when evil people rule a nation, the nation suffers. When righteous people rule, the nation flourishes. And I don't see too many nations flourishing, hey, Black Knight? Hey, Giggs? I don't see much flourishing going on. And the only righteous king that we can have is Jesus. And so let's serve him.
Yes, so let us know your thoughts on the comments below. Do you agree or do you disagree with us? This has been an amazing show, as always, right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl, Cynthia, but you can call me Giggs, and with me in studio we've had
Gavin Ensslin.
Pastor Gavin Ensslin, and
The Black Knight.
The Black Knight, right here on The Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
hot politics.
This is The Political Show.